Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of the NCAA 08 on PS2 simulator for the 2021 college football season. This time we have Wisconsin and Notre Dame, in real life playing in Chicago at Soldier Field, but in this game playing in Philadelphia. What are you going to do? It's a video game from 13 years ago. So I got good news and bad news about this episode of the simulator. The good news is that this game is batshit crazy. At the end of the first half, Notre Dame defensive lineman Myron Tagovailoa-Amosa almost houses this interception. You can tell I could barely get through this watching that happen. But then it happens on the other side. The last play of the first half, Jack Cohn throws an interception to Wisconsin defensive lineman Matt Henningsen, who actually takes it all the way to the house. But unfortunately, which should have been a great episode of the simulator, as you can see, 7-point game here late in the fourth quarter, got marred by the fact that for some reason, this 13-year-old video game put Notre Dame backup tight end George Takis in at running back because of this impact player system. And since I was running around the house doing other stuff while the simulation was going on, I didn't notice until literally this play that Takis was just getting the carries at running back for the whole game, thus pretty much ruining the simulation. And it's a real shame too, because it comes down to this with less than a minute left, and believe it or not, Wisconsin houses this punt. And folks, this is why they always tell you in school to double check your work. Never let the 13-year-old video game handle things on its own. And it makes sense. I never double checked my work. That's why I was almost a super senior. I didn't know I graduated high school until they literally handed me my diploma. True story. So since the simulation was already ruined anyway, I decided to jump in and see what would happen at the end of the game, and the computer just blocks the extra point for Notre Dame anyway. I kind of wish I would have just stuck with this version, but I couldn't do that to you guys. We have to be grounded in some sort of reality for the simulator vids. That's why we ditched Philadelphia. Welcome to the real sim, baby. We're here at Ryan Field in Evanston, Illinois. That's the greater Chicago metro area, right? I should know. I'm an honorary Medill graduate. But that's the closest we're going to get to Soldier Field. So it's time for the real Notre Dame-Wisconsin simulation. Lee's going Wisconsin. I'm going with this is going to be a much worse game than the other one. And Notre Dame on their first drive is going with the real Notre Dame running back, Kyron Williams, who cuts to the left, takes it 67 yards for the touchdown. These simulator vids don't have enough rushing touchdowns, so I love to see that right out of the gate. What these simulator vids do have enough of, though, are turnovers and defensive touchdowns, and you will see a lot of both in this game. Kyle Hamilton, the great safety for Notre Dame, takes that scoop and score 14-0 Notre Dame. That one's plausible. He's a pretty awesome player. What's also plausible is a Graham Mertz interception. We've seen it in real life, now we're seeing it here, and you're about to see it a few more times. Houston Griffith picks that one off. And speaking of Wisconsin quarterbacks throwing interceptions, Jack Cohn threw a few when he was there. Not many, but he did throw a few. This time he throws one to his former teammate Faion Hicks, who questionable for the game in real life, but puts Wisconsin on the board here. But if there's one thing we know about Jack Cohn, it's that he's resilient. And on Notre Dame's next drive, just drops one in on the sideline there, and then has an incredible evasion of the sack and just laces a dime 40 yards down the field to Kevin Austin Jr., who, get ready, you're going to hear his name a few more times in this video. And can I just add as an aside, there's a direct correlation between when football games as a whole started getting bad and when they started introducing like the evade sack or duck sack feature. The most needless thing in any football game ever. Probably could have used the evade or duck feature there though. But the only other notable things that happen in the first half are another long completion from Cohn to Austin Jr., and then Faion Hicks' second interception of the day. He's really the only Wisconsin player who showed up because it's 21-10 Notre Dame. Notre Dame has 3 turnovers, but they're dominating this game. Wisconsin can't really find any juice. But they do actually get a spark at the start of the second half with a 95-yard kickoff return for a touchdown. You guys know I hate the simulator kick return for a touchdown. I just think it's so cheap. And just to warm my heart, Wisconsin gets called for clipping. But then it just sets off a chain of events of dumb special teams play where on the next drive, Notre Dame cans this field goal, but they get called for holding, and NCAA 08 Charlie Weiss is not feeling it. But you know what? I don't even have a joke there because that's probably Brian Kelly's reaction in real life if that happens. But none of that's enough to slow down Notre Dame. The Cone to Austin Jr. combination is just too prolific in this game. Austin finishes with 5 catches for 128 yards, 2 touchdowns, including that one right there that pretty much puts the game away. But then Notre Dame's defense makes sure it's locked up because they pick off Mertz 3 more times. This one, courtesy of DJ Brown, then Cam Hart with Notre Dame's second defensive touchdown of the game, our third total defensive touchdown. And then finally, Mertz's 4th pick. Yeah, those numbers are ugly. J.D. Bertrand with the sickest pick of the day. Sometimes the computer will just do some wild shit like this, and I'm in awe of it. I love to see it. Notre Dame wins 35-17. Jack Cohn beats his former team. Graham Mertz, nobody will dap him up. He's just forced to act like somebody's giving him props after that performance. Takes the L in this one, and Notre Dame comes out with the Shamrock Series win in Chicago. Hope you guys enjoyed this edition of The Simulator. I'll be back tomorrow with Ohio State Akron. Yay! Can't wait for that one. Be on the lookout for that. Subscribe to the channel. Subscribe to twostripecpd.com. I'll holler at you next time.